Thanks for coming. Katherine Robertson, running for Attorney General.
That's right.
I've been working on getting this interview for a while. Thank you for taking it. And you're currently Chief Counsel for the Attorney General's office.
That's right.
Seeking election to be the new Attorney General. Tell us a little bit about who you are and why you want to do something like that. Crazy politics.
Yeah, so I started my career 20 years ago at the United States Justice Department. It was my very first job. I wanted to see if I really wanted to go to law school, so I got the best job I could to be exposed to that and ended up absolutely loving it. So I went to law school at the University of Alabama, went back to Washington to work for Senator Jeff Sessions on the Senate Judiciary Committee, and all of these things sort of laid the foundation for what I ultimately ended up doing. Got married, moved back to Alabama in 2013. Helped run a state-based think tank, learned kind of the ins and outs of state government, which was really beneficial. Joined the AG's office 10 years ago and have been chief counsel to Steve Marshall since his first day. He cannot run again. He's term limited out. And so I thought, hey, I know how to do this job. Let's go.
Yeah, and you've worked on a bunch of stuff with the Attorney General. A lot of people don't see behind the scenes, like who all works on getting
right.
These things get done. So is there any projects that you, I've known Steve since I was a captain here, and then, worked under another chief. And of course we had an officer killed in line of duty. So remember. You get, when that happens, you get to know the AG really good.
You do.
You do. Because which is a good thing. That's a testament to him, is that he stays involved and comes and makes sure that, he was here a lot,
right.
So, which means I think he really cares about that stuff.
He does. He's as genuine of a person as you'll find, especially in a political position.
Yeah. So so you learned from the best. I think. He's
Absolutely.
Nobody's done that job better, hands down, in my opinion. So, like, what's some projects? What's something that you guys got worked on, or what got done that behind the scenes that people may not know about, but they saw the fruit of it.
Yeah. I think for coming from a perspective like yours, one of the things I'm most proud of is that when I got to the AG's office, the AG's office had a little bit abandoned being the thought leader on criminal justice policy. There are so many things that the AG's office can do. There are so many topics, there are so many lanes, and every AG is going to kind of do what what they're drawn to. And some of the things you're drawn to get you more headlines than others. But one thing I realized when I got there is that we had not really been stepping out and leading the conversation on what our criminal justice system ought to look like. And a big part of that takes place over at the legislature. So the legislature, the police can go out and make arrests, the DAs can go out and prosecute, but the legislature is really where the conversations are having about sentencing and parole and these things that really make what you do matter more or less. And so I think one of the best things he did was realize that early, prioritize that early. I got tasked with being the one to go over there and deal with that. And so we have probably passed 10 really strong criminal justice laws, and we can go into detail about that, but we have probably stopped 100 bad ones. And our criminal justice system today is safer and stronger and tougher than it was a decade ago because of Steve's leadership. And so I'm extremely proud of our track record.
I would agree. So some of this stuff on like we're seeing right now, the sex offender, the child stuff.
Yeah.
Y'all worked on that. I know
we've
had conversations about that. And now you're seeing like all those conversations come to a bill.
Well, listen, what you're talking about, the new bill that expands, offenses that can get you the death penalty. Yeah. And now, child sex abuse is one of those. But here's the thing. We wouldn't have even been having that conversation if it weren't for our office's dedication to sticking with the death penalty. Because I can tell you, there are plenty of states that still have the death penalty on their books, that still have it as an option, but they never do it. They never do executions because it is too costly. It's too time consuming. You have to have attorneys working on these cases for decades. And to Steve's credit, that was one of the things he was just never going to budge on, was we're not abandoning this. I don't care if it takes 50 years. We're going to see these cases across the finish line because that was the sentence that they were given. And that's what the crime victims were told they would see. And, on my watch, we're going to see this through. And so that's a big part of the job. just making sure that you are sending a message to the people of Alabama that we are not going to abandon this. And, I always want to say, like, it's not because we're bloodthirsty. Nobody's celebrating executions, but if you're going to have it on the books and you're going to sentence people to death, then you've got to get it across the finish line. And that's the AG's job. And one of the things that I was particularly engaged with, I work with our capital litigation division a lot. It's one of the most important things that we do. We're the only people who do it. We're the only people that handle the cases all the way to the end. And they are amazing at what they do. But there's a lot of behind the scenes that has to go on. There are a lot of people that have a hand in how those cases move. And one of the big things that we are proud of is that we were able to get the new nitrogen hypoxia protocol implemented. And that did not come easy. So there are things that happen behind the scenes that get you to the point where you actually can.
So much more effective.
So much more effective. And we had a lot of death row inmates elect to have nitrogen because they really thought the state would never deliver it. And I'm not so sure the state would have if it hadn't been for General Marshall's leadership and a whole lot of behind the scenes work on that. And so, again, something I'm proud of.
Yeah. Well, so I don't think the general public doesn't know this, and I think this happens at the DA level. So DA, I kind of want to put it in perspective what the job is for the everyday citizen.
Right.
So for your county here, like if you live in the county, your head prosecutor or top is the DA, right? He chooses what goes which way and how, that's how it works. And then you have y'all's office, you know, so people don't understand the side of the victims, we have to see. I see it, you know. So I've had cases that currently this deal with that where they stayed the execution, know, right? Mm-hmm. So what you don't see in that is a family of victims, right? And you probably become, I know this is how it works, but you guys become, when it's a profile case like that or something like that, the prosecutors become like entangled with the family of the victims. Right?
Oh yeah. I mean, we have a crime victims unit that cares for those people, that walk them through the process, that sometimes have to tell them, hey, this is going to take a long time. Hey, the governor may commute the Senate. I mean, they are really in the foxhole with those families.
You're the one that has to tell them that stuff.
Oh gosh. I mean, it's a gift that they have to be able to interact with people who've been through so much. But that's just one thing our system has always struggled with. Even now, we spend a lot of time talking about the folks in our prisons. We never talk about crime victims. And that is, again, when I'm over at the legislature, that's a big part of my job too, is like, oh yeah, it makes sense to you to have numerous parole hearings, but what about the victims who have to show up every time and relive that? You think it's fine for everybody to get out early and do community corrections, but what about the victims who are scared of the people that are, so there's just,
and the cops that continue to put them in jail.
Yeah. And so that I think is the biggest gift that an AG can give to the law enforcement community, to the prosecutorial community, and to the crime victim community, is like, there is somebody that's paying attention who gets it. And it's not just the perspective of one local jurisdiction. It's the perspective of the whole state. We see it all.
Yeah.
And it's unique to have one person that can speak with a voice. The DAs obviously participate in the legislative process, but there are a lot of them and they have different perspectives, rural, urban area. They're seeing different things. But when the AG speaks on an issue, I really think people listen, whether that's in court, in the legislature, out in the public. You need a unified vision. Because they see it as
the whole state's
exactly.
view.
Exactly.
So, you touched on it, this whole prison jail thing that is up, right? And I watched it. I've seen it, and I get it. But that's just one perspective, right? And I've been inside the prisons and the jails, and they can be that way, but it's like a moving, living, breathing thing inside there, right? It depends on how things are happening on the street, how things are getting prosecuted in court.
Yeah.
It does fluctuate. It's not always bam. There's overcrowding. Of course there is. There's more criminals every year because, you've got things that affect it. But I don't see, I think that was super one-sided, and I think they lumped the I don't know. They ended up lumping the Attorney General's office in there with it. I don't know. I don't know why, but I mean,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, a couple of things. The Attorney General's office does not run our prisons. The prison
hmm
commissioner runs our prisons. He answers to the governor, and I think they do a pretty decent job with what they're given.
yeah,
Um, I think people need to understand that our prison population is 85% violent.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
um, 10 or 12 years ago, that was not true. 10 or 12 years ago, there was a big conversation, a big debate about prison reform, and we let out some low hanging fruit. I mean, I didn't love it, but I think everybody acknowledged
yeah,
that there were some people that just needed to get out and
yeah,
be, subject to some kind of supervision, but not
yeah,
behind the wire or whatever. So we did that. We got the nice people out.
yeah,
There are no nice people left.
yeah,
And the legislature has spent an enormous amount of time and energy and money offering these people opportunities in prison and rehabilitation and education, all this kind of stuff, with the hopes that people wouldn't keep coming back in and that over
yeah,
time it would reduce our population. It really hasn't. Alabamians have no tolerance for violent crime. They have no tolerance for much crime at all, but especially violent crime.
yeah,
So if you go out and ask the public, they want these kind of offenders to be incarcerated.
yeah,
That is a difficult proposition because our prisons are old, our state is poor, and they're very violent. It is very difficult to recruit correctional officers, and you can't just build new prisons overnight. Governor Ivey set out to do that several years ago. It's run into tons of bumps along the way. I'm not an expert in the financing of all that, that's
yeah,
them. But she acknowledged several years ago that we had to build as a big part of the solution, because if you think about it, safely incarcerating people requires decent facilities,
yep.
and it requires people willing to do the job.
And that money's got to come from somewhere.
It's got to come from somewhere. And so on the
Yeah,
one hand, the people want safety and they want incarceration and they're comfortable with it. On the other hand, it is expensive and nobody gets excited about paying for prisons. And so it's a really difficult position.
yeah,
Our office's job as it pertains to our prisons is we are their lawyers,
yeah,
ultimately.
yeah,
And so our job's to defend them. And sometimes you have clients that are easy to defend and
yeah,
sometimes hard to defend and sometimes in the middle. But at the same time that we've been defending our prisons from just excessive litigation, we've also been unwilling to bend that there are people, a lot of people, that need to be there.
yeah.
And I think the people of Alabama believe that.
I know
And
it
so you
firsthand.
you watch this documentary and it doesn't really talk about what these people did to get there. It doesn't really talk about all the challenges of managing that type of violent population. And I think it's definitely one-sided. And there is a big anti-incarceration movement afoot nationally, and they've had some success in Alabama. ACLU, SPLC, EJI, these groups have a ton of money and they love to sue the state. And the goal is to drain us dry of resources so that we just throw our hands up and say, okay, fine, we'll let them out. And so, it's frustrating to watch something like that. It's super one-sided. But again, I think the people of Alabama support incarcerating violent offenders. I think any normal person would
Yeah,
acknowledge that that's not easy. And we know that in Alabama, our money doesn't stretch that far. And so we're constantly having to figure out how
yeah,
we fund what the people of Alabama want.
yeah. I don't remember which group it is that you just mentioned. Well,
ACLU,
the
SPLC,
the
EJI.
the one that everybody was talking about was just a few years ago. It got so bad, people were mentioning it. It got all the way down to this level, like, oh well, we don't want to do that. We don't. And then it didn't take long. Eventually, I don't remember if it came from the AGs, like, hey, these people ain't ever won a case. Like they ain't even went to court with anything.
There's
And
a,
when you're scared of them,
uh-huh.
yeah. And but I don't. It shouldn't change the way we do. I mean, law enforcement has been the same.
Yeah.
We go out and we try to put people in jail that don't need to be in with the other 99% of us, right?
Yeah.
That we like to go to Walmart, we like to go to our baseball games, and we like to feel safe, right?
Yeah.
Well, in order to do that, we have to go in and we have to make sure that we take people out that can't play nice with all the other people, right?
Yeah.
Create danger.
Well,
Yeah.
and here's the thing. Alabama has been under this like cloud for our prisons and overcrowding and all this stuff for 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, I agree.
If you don't think that every police officer doesn't know that, every DA knows that, every judge knows that, every appellate court knows that, Everybody knows. So at this point, we are not excessively incarcerating people. You know, when y'all go out and make arrests, when the DA takes cases, when we take cases, we know what we're up against. We know we don't have tons of open beds. We know that we've got issues in our prisons. So that the system has adjusted to that. And yet we still have people that are committing offenses at a level where we got to go for it anyway. And so I just think it's just easy to tweet about it or just, say, oh, who let this happen, whatever. But this is a problem that has been brewing for at least 50 years. Yeah. And, again, I'm not here to say one construction plan or the other is the right thing. I mean, I don't know anything about that. That's not my expertise. But to have a governor to at least acknowledge that we need new prisons, that wasn't a popular position to take, but it was a practical one. And I hope at least one or more get built, because we don't want to keep having this conversation. We want to safely incarcerate people. We know they have constitutional rights even when they're incarcerated, but it's a difficult population to manage.
Yeah, I would agree. Not to change the subject, but there is one thing that I wanted to bring up. I think, and when I do this show, I kind of think of myself as how I'm affected as a cop on the street, right? Mm-hmm. How I'm affected as a cop on the street. I'm not on the street. I'm in the office,
right?
But I still think that way. And a big deal for me right now is the mental health stuff, man.
Oh yeah,
like it is. If you asked me or anybody else, like what affects the citizen every day that creates the most danger for anybody, is mental health issues. It's every other call.
Absolutely.
Like on the street level.
Absolutely.
It's every other call. You take that out or provide some resource for that, and you instantly, day two, the police officers are like, oh my God, thank God.
I know.
Because it is every other call. And you're in Walmart with these people and you don't know it, and you're at the ballpark with these people and you have no clue at what they're capable of.
It's
because,
so
and
true.
I'm not saying, look, I'm an advocate for it, I think, but you can't make somebody take their medicine.
No.
Right? You can't do it unless they are in a facility, right? And in 14, I was here, I was policing. Was it 14 that they cut half the funding?
Yeah. Sometime in the last.
Yeah. And I watched it. I was sitting outside of this facility. I worked in Decatur, where one of the largest ones was. Mm-hmm. The doors opened and they just
let them out.
They just moseyed out. I mean, they had campfires, and I think it's, but you don't hear about it at the legislative level. I don't know. Maybe there's some bills out there that are directly addressing that I don't know about, but I haven't seen it or I don't hear about it. And it's crazy to me that it's just wild that it's not like one of the top priorities, because I feel like you can separate out a lot of the stuff we deal with, even in the prisons.
Listen, it is, I can tell you it's going to be one of the biggest challenges that our next governor inherits. I think this governor has seen sort of the beginning of the problem, but then the next governor is really going to have it handed to him.
Yeah.
And, I think that I know the legislature has tried to appropriate more money, and I appreciate that, but you and I both know that we need beds. We need beds.
Yep.
And that became politically, unpopular 10 or 15 years ago around the country. Very similar to the prison conversation.
Yeah.
Oh, this is inhumane. We can't have these people in here caged like animals. Oh gosh, let's go out and put them in therapy, and and the truth is there are people that cannot exist safely anywhere else but in a locked facility. But it's not a prison. It's not a prison can't handle them. They don't have the resources for that. And so it's a conversation that our whole country is a debate our whole country is facing right now, red states and blue states alike. Yes, money is always part of the solution, but it's not the whole solution. I know there have been efforts made. There have been task forces. There have been conversations. We've tried to offer a lot of opioid funding to help. but it is something that the next governor is going to inherit and really have to take the lead
Yeah.
on. Our office has certainly been part of that conversation,
Yeah.
and I would love to continue to be. But the burden that it shifts down to local frontline law enforcement is incredible.
Yeah.
City jails, county jails are full of these people, and we just don't have anywhere to put them. And
That's
so the state's got to get real serious. And again, we are having these conversations.
Yeah.
We're I'm not saying we're halfway there. We're
I do
having
want
the conversations.
I do want to take it back. I did read where they're going to try to open up 353.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's nowhere to go.
I know.
You know, so
I know.
like it's like they, even if you get a good piece of legislation, if you don't have, and I really feel like there's a conversation they could have with the private sector to incentivize.
There's going to have to be some partnerships because the state's not going to be in a financial position anytime soon to refurbish or build new mental health. I mean, that's just not going to happen. But it's also, it clogs up the whole criminal justice system. I mean, you see these cases
terrible.
Where mental health is a defense, and I mean, capital cases especially.
Yep.
We've got 2 and 3 year long waiting lists for people to be, sufficiently evaluated, to stand trial, to be reinstated. I mean, it is a problem, and so it's slowing down justice as well. And it's an expensive proposition, and you're right. I mean, it's something that everybody thinks about and talks about, but it's almost like you got to have like, who's in charge of this? Who's going to fix this problem? And I think right now there's kind of a lot of cooks in the kitchen, but we need a very clear vision for the next 10 years on what we're going to do.
Yeah, because I mean, we all been through war on drugs, the drug epidemic. It was bad. It was terrible.
Yeah.
But I think as law enforcement as a whole, including the AG's office, we've kind of, I mean, like the numbers are, I don't want to jinx it, but they look good.
Yeah.
Like they looked under control to me.
Yeah.
In a comparison to 10 years ago.
For sure.
I'm not going to say it's essentially wiped out because it's not and never will be. Never will be. But I've never seen it like it is now. And I think it's a testament to the officers on the street, all the way to the Attorney General's office, that like policies were good policies, good direction was given to law enforcement.
Yeah.
And they were able to tackle a problem and eventually get it to where it's at now. Another one that is the sex offenders. That's a big thing coming up to me. Like, if you ask me the 2 big things right now, are the sex offenders and the mental health stuff affecting your everyday citizen, of how safe you feel.
Yeah.
Because it's freaking terrible.
It's super scary. Yeah. I think one of the things that you should be able to see now is that these people are going away for longer.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
So they are serving significantly more time. Sex offenders in particular, most classes of those are not getting the kind of correctional incentive time they used to. That's been heavily reduced. They are, generally not getting a lot of leniency from the parole board, which is very, very important. And then you've also, we have specifically on that category of offender, data shows that most sex offenders cannot be rehabilitated. That it is not like a pickpocket or even a robber. Sex offenders, violent offenders generally, and sex offenders more specifically, there is like no data out there, even from the most left-wing think tanks. There's no data that shows that they can be successfully rehabilitated. And so I do think our state has adjusted in some ways to that reality. And we are keeping them locked up as long as we can. And then we're putting harsh restrictions on them when they do get out.
You saw in our lobby. I mean, that like people come in that we have to have it out there because we do it here. And people are like, "Oh my God, I didn't know there was that many people." I was like, "You'd be blown away."
100%. But there have been times where I've had to go over to the legislature and, they were trying to do something on education or rehabilitation or whatever. And they would include sex offenders. And I mean, I've gone over there with my little data and said, you take them out. Yeah. Take them out. These are not normal people. Yeah. No matter how many GEDs they get in prison, they are not going to be, they're not going to be good.
Yeah. So this law that's, or this bill about the stiffer sentences, the death penalty stuff, is it a go? I mean, it's a done deal, right?
Yeah, it's going to be signed into law. I mean, look, any conservative law you pass like that's probably going to be challenged. Our office would be tasked with defending it. But there is some United States Supreme Court precedent out there that seemed unfavorable to upholding a law like this. However, that was a very different court back then. Other states have taken this on. We're not the first, and we feel like there's a high chance of getting it implemented. Now, is it going to make these cases go faster? No.
Yeah.
Death penalty cases take a long time. But I do think it's a statement of policy by our state that, we think this is just as bad as the worst of the worst types of crimes, and we're going to treat it as such. And so not only will we defend this law, but it'll be our capital litigators that ultimately get these cases across the finish line. It's a huge part of what we do.
I think it's awesome. I mean, I think it's a no-brainer.
Sends
I think
a message for sure.
In the general conversation of the public, everybody's like, yeah, why not? Like, it's common sense, of course. Like, it's our kids.
Well, and as we just discussed, if we believe these people cannot be rehabilitated, and we believe that this is among the worst things you can do to anyone in society, the most vulnerable, then why do we want them sitting in our prison forever?
Yeah, and people don't understand. It's actually an easier route to not do it. It's an easier route because of the litigation behind all.
It is
you're
an easier
actually
route.
Volunteering to do more work. Like, hey, we want to do more work.
It's a lot more work. Yeah. It's a lot more work on our office. But I'm very proud of Attorney General Marshall for not ever wavering. A lot of other red states that have death penalty crimes have backed away from it because you just get sued into oblivion. It takes a lot of attorney time, lots of resources. And then when they are executed 30 years later, nobody's thanking you because they're like, that took too long. And you're like, yeah, well, my people have been working on this for 30 years. It is a shame that it takes as long as it does. But it is, the guy that got commuted the other day, we feel so sorry for him. He's old. Well, he wouldn't have been old if he had gotten executed when he was sentenced to be. He chose to appeal and appeal and appeal and appeal and appeal. And in the meantime, he got old.
And then you see a picture of a guy that's
in a wheelchair or whatever.
100 years old. Yeah.
But that doesn't make what he did 30 years ago any less horrible. So, we're dedicated to it. And there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to get everybody to stay together on a case like that, or just the general mission of death penalty. It requires a lot of coordination and a lot of, making sure everybody still believes that it's worth it.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, we've talked a lot about stuff that's been done, and I just want to give you an opportunity. I mean, where do you want to drive the boat? How do you want to drive the ship? If you were to get it, how do you want to drive it?
Yeah. I think the best thing I have going for me, and really the only reason I'm running, is that I don't need any training. Yeah. And so I think what I've found is that the AG's office is so complex. We haven't even scratched the surface of everything we do. We've only talked about the criminal side, which I could talk about all day, but there's so much else that we do. Yeah. And to figure out that job takes 2 or 3 years. Yeah. And so my point in doing this is, like, I've had an opportunity. You already said Steve's been a fantastic attorney general, also the longest serving one. Yeah. And I've been right there beside him. And so what I want to do is take what I've learned and how I understand the tools of the office and just go bigger, go more aggressive, because, we've been, you're kind of constantly turning up the volume on the things that you're doing, constantly ramping up. And, like, I won't have to take a pause to reset. I'll get to keep going. So whether that's our relationships with law enforcement, relationships with the legislature, relationships with the other Republican attorneys general, whatever it is that we need to lead on, I'm going to be ready to hop into action. And so we will obviously continue our criminal justice priorities. We want to aggressively reclaim Alabama's sovereignty over our own decisions. We're sick of the federal government telling us what to do. We want to be able to work with this administration before it ends to reclaim some of our power. We want to have schools that represent Alabama values, libraries that represent Alabama values, girls' sports, all these kind of things all come through the AG's office. And so I'm running just to go, I know how to do this. Yeah. I've got a great track record. I've trained under a fantastic attorney general. I'm ready to go.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you for, is there anything we didn't touch on that you wanted to touch on today? I mean,
I think I'll have to come back.
Yeah, I know. You're going to come back. Hope, maybe as the attorney general, you come back. You're welcome. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
As is, look, I'll be honest with you, this is not a political show. So, I mean, if the opponents want to come, have a conversation, sit down and have a conversation, but I think the current AG's office, I can definitely say they have done a phenomenal job. So that encompasses you,
Thank you.
and it's sad that has come to an end, but I'm excited for the future too. So I mean, I'm excited to see things change. I mean, sometimes it's nice to change. And
I always say, if you're a business owner and you're doing it the exact same way 10 years later, you should always be improving.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
and even Steve will say that. He's like, you will be better than me because of the experience you've had. You'll be able to start at a higher level than I was able to. So fantastic lessons learned, great boss, great mentor, and everybody's going to do the job a little bit differently. And I always tell Steve I'm funnier than him and a lot meaner. So we'll see what happens.
Well, thank you for coming on with me, and I do look forward to having you back on in any whatever capacity. So,
thank you.
It's I guess we got to go back and get to work.
About that time.
I know you do.
I'm gonna get another cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Chief.
You too.